This is PHCL 201. My name is Dr. Nancy Miles Bafo-Jemfi. Yours truly, the instructor for the course and the examiner as well. We have had, I think, a good time together throughout the semester. This is our very final session. I'm meeting main campus Tuesday group. But I think what we remember from this will be useful for all other groups and all other campuses of the course. So engage it. We are revising, mopping up, and filling in gaps that we may have. Then we would have planned to have yesterday's session. We just used about 20 minutes or so to do the supposed group presentation. By the time we assigned questions, it was left with just about 10 minutes to the end of time. Okay, so we didn't do any substantive presentation. Of course, it wasn't so much the marks, but I wanted us to have fun like we did during the level 100 end of semester. If you recall, the Bintum and the Adjustley and the guy who has stolen to take care of his mother because the company won't give him a loan or an IOU, what have you. So we use those scenarios to do quick group discussions and then come and feedback as a way of revising our moral philosophy or ethics, the question of ethics, so that we didn't have to do a full substantive discussion of problem of ethics because we have already seen a good number of them. The deontologists versus consequentialists, and even in the consequentialists, we had the utilitarian and egoistic and altruism, you know. We did that in level 100. So I was hoping that we could use the end of semester to have that kind of fun. But we weren't even able to do so much in terms of the presentation. We had one or two of them. That's basically it. So you won't lose anything if your Tuesday group's final session is moved online. City Campus will be done online as well. The final session, because we are having venue issues, that's one, but also because the schedules are very difficult around this time. We should have been done with our academic calendar, if not for the exigencies of the time, okay? So what? So be at home, you haven't lost out. You have an advantage of sorts. You have seen the problem of certainty, content. If you are serious at all, a little, okay, you would have engaged what your colleagues from my group, I told them to write it down so that we can look at it and make sure every group has a fair idea of that content, okay? Because we won't have another week to come and mop it up. We want to make sure, that we have a fair representation of what was discussed, okay? So you have the notes already. That means you wouldn't have to be writing so much. It's on the course WhatsApp platform, which I know would be very useful for such purposes. Currently, I'm going to project the problem of certainty, and I want to take your comments on what you saw when you looked at it. Let me quickly ask you, what do you think the problem of knowledge is? Then we start from there. You can still call a friend or someone that you know is very serious, but it's not online. And tell them, hey, now we're here, Ajua sleep. Hey, we are doing the class, so maybe it can help someone, okay? So think about it and get to the person. Meanwhile, tell me what you think the problem of knowledge is. You raise your hand, I'll call you. The problem of certainty that is whipped into the problem of knowledge. Is there any hand up? Let me see. Good. I see a hand up. Joseph Anifuna. Very good. Joseph, go ahead. Please unmute first. You're muted.
Am I audible?
Go ahead.
Yes. The problem of knowledge deals with the way we justify our claims of knowledge. So, how we are able to prove the knowledge we have.
Very good. To tell whether it is certain. Okay, we may claim to know, but whether what we know is certainty. Is it absolute, or it is knowledge for now that will later be false? Or it is just an opinion that has been expressed, which doesn't state what is out there. Okay, so the problem of knowledge, like you just said, how to establish whether what we know is certainty. Okay, and in trying to answer that, everyone keep looking on your screen. You have the notes from your friends. Please let me ask the class again. How many of you have seen the notes that I asked to be shared? I think I shared one myself. Raise your hand if you saw it on the platform. I'm not asking raise your hand if you have read it. But raise your hand if you saw it on the platform. Actually, there are some notes be on the problem of certainty on your WhatsApp platform. Only 2 people saw it. Hey, no more about keep raising your hand. I'm marking. Good. I'll wait a little while. I want to see how many people have made a note of it. Even if you haven't engaged it fully, you know that there were notes, so people wrote it down for you. You won't have to take time during the class now to be writing the same thing down. See, but you will take time to hear the explanation of it and just reference it later. See that? Okay, it's a good number. Well done. So, the problem of knowledge, not just a problem of certainty, is what we are going to attempt to address. Thank you all very much. I've lowered down. We're going to try to attempt to nib at it. Okay. When you get to level 300, maybe rationalism or some other course, then you can delve into it, modern analytic or stuff like that. Okay. But here we are going to introduce you to the problem, like we've done it all the other problems of philosophy. So on my screen, Shakespeare, do you want to read? Your hand is up, or you were telling me that you saw it, or you have a question. Your hand is still up. Maybe you were raising your hand to indicate that you have seen it, right? I don't know. I don't want to ignore your hand. So could you explain what the issue is? Okay, the hand has gone down. So maybe he was raising, he or she was raising his hands to indicate that he saw the notes. If you didn't see it after class, there were 2. One from the class rep, Frank Kamano, for Monday, one of the class reps, and one from a name I haven't saved, but I think the person did the work well. So I forwarded that also for your perusal. Let's discuss so that you can test. So the problem of certainty is the problem of knowing how certain our claims of knowledge is. Okay, we want to know whether we can be certainty about the claims of knowledge we make. So to answer that, you see that we gave you 3 steps. We asked the first question, what is knowledge itself? When we say we know, what is it? Then how do we know? The second question, you see that? And then thirdly, how do we justify the knowledge claims that we make? 3, all of them in the bid to address this problem of being certain about our knowledge claims, this problem of certainty. Okay. So to answer the first one, we approach it from the traditional view of knowledge, a conventional view held by many. What is that conventional view? That knowledge, when we say we know, it's 3 things put together. We have a belief, that belief is true, and we have a justified grounds for believing that true claim. See, so justified true belief, a belief that is true and has justification. What is justification? That we can support it with evidence. We can ground it, we can justify it. That's what it means. Okay. So traditionally, in trying to answer or respond to the problem of knowledge or certainty, it leads us to ask three pertinent questions. What do we call knowledge? A empowering knowledge. When we say I know, what does that mean? Oh, it means there is a certain claim which is true. You see that? You believe it, and that true belief, you can ground it, you can give evidence to support it. When I say I know the thief, what am I saying? According to the conventional view, I'm saying there is a thief. That is existence. It is true. It's there. There is a thief. I believe that there is a thief. You see that there can be something that you don't believe it. A lot of people don't believe in God. But there can be God, and I think there is. Okay? So God may be there. Then you believe that he is there. So for the person who says, I know, he's not saying there may be or there may not. No, he says there is God. It is true that God exists. There is reality, metaphysics. There is God. That's truth. I believe that there is God. And I can give you justification for believing that there is God. When you have these three things come to play, then you claim you can say to know. Okay, so I want one of you to read this, right? I drink water. Ability. But God did, so we did. Who is reading? Raise your hand very quickly. You know what I'm doing? I want you to take off pressure from your shoulder and be happy, regardless. People should learn that you are meant, that you are going to a lecture. Then when the level 100 be sitting, they are sitting there. This is the way they come to school. They will come to a lecture on time. Freshers. Oh. When you were a fresher last year, if the class is 3:30, you get there 2:45. Why are you so early? So it's frustrating some people. Don't worry. Forget them. Now let me take Esperiencia. Esperiencia, did I mention your name? Esperiencia. Okay. SP, go ahead. So read what you see on my screen.
Oh, I can't see anything.
Oh, sir. Hey.
It's gone. Or it's okay.
There's
It's
something
back.
there.
I've seen it. It's back, dog. Okay, sorry.
Yo, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The question of knowledge. Okay. What is knowledge? Justified true belief. The statement, I know the letter means you believe it is true. Is the letter. Justify your
you can support it with evidence. Okay, thank you very much. Let's have someone else read. As we stand at move around a bit, your reception is not too stable, but it's fine, don't worry. Because it was abrupt, people are just adjusting. That is how life is. You have to always have that posture. You plan going this way, then all of a sudden there is that. Don't worry. Be composed, steady. Then you redirect. You see, always. Otherwise, you let it disorganize you. Then you see that your whole day is messed up. It will pass. It's like the wind. So you always have to have that resoluteness. You intend to do this, all geared up, this, and all of a sudden you enter, then the person sitting there asks you some irritating question at the interview. If you don't keep yourself composed and still, measure up to start the standard, that 10 minutes or 5 minutes irritation can cost you your entire interview and great destiny. See that? So things happen, especially when you did your part. You see, you did your part. Some got 310. Can you imagine? See your students coming to finish the semester. Then it is as if they are rather not. So these ones we will adjust. Okay, if the network doesn't go well, we are all going to adjust. Kakra. Then we finish it. Nice. Thank you so much, my lady SP. I want to take Dankwa now. Rachel, Rachel, read what we see now. How do we know? So we have answered the first question. What is knowledge? That's the traditional view. Question 2, still trying to unravel the problem of certainty. How do we know? Sister, read.
How do we know? Traditional philosophy identity two main sources of knowledge. A. Senses: seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, collectively referred to as experience. Into bracket empirical source. So philosophers who hold the view that experience is the true and ultimate source of all knowledge are described as empiricists. They include John Locke, David Hume, Bishop Berkeley.
Well done. This ones, we did it in level 100, so it's just repetition for emphasis. So we know that one of the sources of knowledge is the senses, and we call such people empiricists, says Rachel Ayu. And we have seen names of such empiricists: Berkeley, John Locke, etc., etc. Now, Esther, please read the rationalist one for us to see. The one with the ID, I don't want to mention your name. That's why I'm your ID. That's why I'm not calling you. Change it to your name, okay? You want to keep your ID discreet. Right, Esther.
Sources of knowledge: mind, not brain; intellect, soul, spirit, etc. That is the non-physical part of a person, collectively labeled as reason, rational source. So philosophers who hold the view that reason is the true and ultimate source of all knowledge are described as rationalists. They include Plato, Roma Descartes, Spinoza.
Very good. So you know rationalists and you know empiricists. Now, who then is a rationalist? A rationalist is someone who believes that we source knowledge from a rational source like mind, like intellect, like the soul, like the spirit. In other words, we come to know as these people without relying on the senses. So they will not agree that seeing is believing. No, it's a lie, you say. We can know some things without experiencing at all. We get to know them without the aid of the senses. Follow me steadily and slowly so that you get the point. Like really? Yeah. The empiricist is shocked. What can we know that wasn't fed to us by the senses? We either had it, we touched, we tasted, we smelt it, we taught it. Education, see that you hear. You say we know something without the senses. Which one is that? The rationalists can tell you some things we get to know without the help of experience. So some say, like the idea of God. Have you seen God before? No. Has anybody tried him before? No. God is not seeable. Let me destroy some people's theology immediately before I continue class. Someone say, oh, but doc, the Bible says, blessed are the pure in heart. The Bible also says, no one can see. I always had that scripture in mind. I forgot it. That particular, I don't repeat it nowadays. No one can see him. And someone say, oh, but doc, the Bible says that Moses saw God face to face. You see that? You see what is going on? You can't make an image of a being that cannot be seen. Who are you believing, Moses or Jesus? And what did Moses mean when he says he has seen God face to face? God has come to sit down. Into it, on which chair? He created the heavens and the earth. If you put him in any container on earth here, you have a big problem. The creator, he existed before the heavens and the earth were created. I'm quoting the same scriptures. Eh? So where was he? If you say he is sitting somewhere inside your table, or it is a graven image you've made. That's blasphemy. Anyway, why am I saying that? Because of the C, okay, to help us understand what was at stake. Just so we see the empiricist rationalist discussion, okay? Now, empiricists say there is nothing we know that was not given to us by the senses. I'm trying to get the scripture that is in John, but I don't know. I don't remember it often. I'll find it quickly. Oh dear. Okay, the rationalists say an idea like the idea of God is not given to us by the senses. We already know. You see, no one teaches a child who God is. That's a rationalist language of sort. Now, so this contention is going on between two schools of thought. The rationalists, some also say, claims like it is wrong to kill indiscriminately are not known by experience. It's not experience, I think I've seen it. John 1:18, yeah. Those who do Bible, you can read it when you go. John chapter 1, verse 18. Because of the idea of God, I'm quoting some scriptures. So if you don't do Bible, you can reference the Bible like Socrates' text or something. Just think of it that way. It's a religious argument for the existence of God. You see that? That you don't see him to know him. What kind of seeing is this? That you physically saw God? What was he wearing? Was he an old man or a young man? You see, people draw him. I was telling the level 400, and when they want to put an image to the being that you call God, then they draw him as an old man with a beard, because the expectation is that he has been living for long. But if you make him old, then it means he's dying. It's blasphemy. People don't know. Jesus told them, John 1:18, he said, no one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who blah, 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 blah. So where you go there, read it. So who did Moses see? If God sends me, or if I'm an ambassador, and I go and represent the president at another nation, I will have the president seal. I will represent the president. So everything I say, they will say, Nanado said. And it doesn't mean it was literally Nanado that came to town. Currently is JDM, right? Our current president. It doesn't mean that literally he came there. I symbolize him. So you can read Exodus and see what God told the Israelites when they were leaving, Egypt to the promised land. He said, I'm sending you with an angel. He represents me, but this one, he doesn't forgive. You can read it, Exodus 30 or so. When I make time, I can find it. This one, he doesn't forgive. Don't offend him. If you offend him, he won't forgive you. Now someone will say, oh, dog, then who was speaking? Did Moses see the creator God or not? Why are we doing this? Because the assumption is that there are certain concepts that are known independently of experience, says rationalists. One of them is the concept of God. It is so in account thoughts. This is rationalism, right? Yeah. Hey, debut, this is level 200. It's so in account thought. When you do rationalism, you see the other one we did. You will see it in Western thought. Level 400s have looked at argument for the existence of God from various authors, European and non-European, all suggesting that that concept is not empirically grounded. But others think, the empiricists think, no, it is empirical. We see creation and we presume that there must be an authority, a designer that brought it into being. So this is the contention going on between these two schools of thought concerning knowledge. And I used a very delicate concept like the idea of God and the contentions around it to show you how two perspectives are looking at it. You can bring it down to ethics. Something that we already know. Listen, that's the rational piece. That it is wrong to kill for the fun of it. You are just killing because you want to have fun. Something, it is not because society told you not to do it. Because tomorrow society can tell you when you go kill all of them, you finish them. The point the rationalists make is if society told you that, you will still know that it is wrong to do that. So you won't obey what society says if it goes contrary to the already known truth. The truth that doesn't depend on what you heard, what you saw, what you touched, tasted, or smelled, what your mother told you, what your parents have told you, your educational system has told you that these people, they are this or that or that. You are able to reflectively engage with what you have learned against what you already know about right and wrong. This is Plato and his folks, rationalists, advocating for such knowledge that we source outside of experience. So you see, two possible ways of knowing: the rational source, then the empirical source. I need you to know that it's not everything that the two disagree on. The rationalist agrees that some knowledge we source it from experience, like which color of hair will you wear next week? Maybe you like dyeing your hair. If next week you plan, you do yellow hair or golden hair, the rationalist hasn't said that that one we already know. It will depend on observation. We have to observe you to see whether you will wear yellow or green hair. You see that? So that is not a contentious issue for rationalists and empiricists. That means the rationalists accept that there are certain truths or certain knowledge. It will come to us through the senses, even though they are rationalists. Their issue is that it is not all knowledge that we acquire through the senses. There are some that we get without the help of the senses. That is the position of rationalists. Empiricists say, na lie, all knowledge. I wish you will see me nodding over here. Everything we claim to know comes to us from the senses. The senses serves as the basis or the source of every claim of knowledge we make. Those are the two extremes. I want to pause for questions if you have them. If not, then I move to the next slide patiently. So we have answered two of the questions surrounding the problem of knowledge in the bid to unravel the problem. Okay, we take out the ones that we can easily cut off and see what is left that is not answered. That becomes the problem. There is a third part. I see only two hands. Only two people want to read. Oh, keep your hand up if you want to. Don't worry. You won't get tired. So that when I come, I'll find you. I want different voice. It helps some. Some people learn better when they hear it from their colleague and so on. Okay. Only one hand out of 80 something. I'll go through the slides and finish in 10 minutes and go home. I will end this thing in 5 minutes. You'll be shocked. I said I want more hands, respectfully. Eh? Let's take Nanajwa. Afterwards, I will take Christabel and Kruma. Keep more hands up. Nanajwa, go ahead. Please read what I've just projected. Please, you are muted, so unmute first.
Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes, my lady. Can hear you. Go ahead.
How do we justify our knowledge claims? This is the most central question of epistemology. How do we support, ground, or justify the claims of knowledge that we make? What will constitute a solid grounds for our claims of knowledge? Whereas rationalists rely on mind, into bracket, not brain, as a solid justification, empiricists rely on experience, into bracket, the senses, The contention then is which of the sources gives the ultimate and true justification of our knowledge claims?
Well done. I don't want to add anything except to stress that this is the bone of this is the part that is tough. That is what creates the problem. If I say that I am convinced that Yaya stole the laptop, no one will begrudge me. But what everyone will ask is, why do you say so? Why? Adding. Then you say, oh, I saw her take it. Then we say, why? What is your evidence? You see that? What is the justification? How do you convince us to accept what you know to be true? You see, how do you convince us? Then you say, well, I just have an itch that tells me she took it. You have an itch. Maybe you are itching. If you get you have an itch that tells you took it. How do we take that seriously in any space? Even when we are in a hostel, there's 3 of us and we are talking and we want to find out who took the extra rice. And you say that I think it was Yaya. And we say, oh, what makes you say so? So I just have an itch. I have the feeling that you took it. Sir, we can't use it. Yaya, we cannot. It doesn't work. So give us reason that will convince the other person. That's what we mean by justification. Give us your basis for saying what you're saying. The empiricist says if you ask for the basis of every knowledge claim should be in what? Experience. So maybe I get you pictures of Yaya and how she was tiptoeing to the room, look left, look right, carrying the rice, running out. You say, oh, you see, that's my evidence. Then it means I depend on what? Empirical source to ground my claims of knowledge. It means I think that if I'm looking for justification for any knowledge claim I've made, the good place to go to is what? The senses. That is still the empiricist's emphasis. But the rationalist says, oh, we don't think so. Because you may be seeing the referee putting the money in his socks. If you conclude that he has stolen, you may be wrong. Mummies put their monies at the market there in their toma. You know the toma? The toma. If you don't know toma, don't worry. It's an elegant a waist bag. Is it because she's putting it there, you say she has stolen it? You may even see the hand inside the soup. I always use that example. Directly inside the soup, the cameras have captured the hand inside the soup. And the guy was only picking a dead fly. You say you have caught a thief? You think the judge is crazy and the law system is crazy when they say, if you catch the person red-handed, bring them to court. Let us hear the case. Why? Because you may end up doing Major Mahama. May God rest his soul. You may end up doing that. If you're not Ghanaian, this is a soldier man that was stoned to death, sort of very, very disheartening in some part in Ghana some years back, recent years. Because there was the suspicion, and we cannot say yes or no to the suspicion. I'm not going into that. I don't know. But even if the person had been, I say even if, had been engaged in anything illegal, is that how to treat a fellow human being? Was stoned, callously killed with the stones to death. Even armed robbers that have been caught red-handed, so to speak, they give them their time, they go and serve a camp. The man was killed. What if he even had nothing to do with it? You see how painful it was? We saw this thing, we see and we hear, and the grandma may have seen the guy tiptoeing in the neighborhood. The CCTV camera captured it. How do you tell whether it means he went to steal? Maybe he's following Ajwa's I've said all these in class in the 100. He might be tiptoeing because he wants to con the sister, wrap the sister, but he doesn't have the words to, so he's gathering momentum. So how he's behaving is suspicious. But how do you deduce anything? Certainly from what the senses are showing. That is the whole point. So the rationalists will say we need reflection. We need to engage beyond what is experienced, because the senses could deceive us. That was the heartbeat of Descartes, meditations 1 and 2 that we did in the 400. Okay, I'm bringing those together to put flesh to this. So what? So if you ask the rationalist, he will tell you that if you want a proper justification for claims of knowledge made, you can't rely on the senses solely. Some say you can't rely on the senses at all. Some say the senses can do partly, but there is a lot that the senses don't help us do for justification. On that note, I'm done with that also. So you see how the problem is coming. So if you had to ground something, what will convince you? The man says, I see the Son of Man. I have entered into your future, my sister. And I see that you are a Johnny Bravo. And you are lying in the pool, dead. And what I hear is, Johnny, it isn't too well. This is how the people crying there are crying. This is in 2038. I see a big mansion. They are lying in the pool. You see what I see? I'm using the word see. See. So I can be seeing, and it is not my physical eye. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Are you thinking it's necessarily a physical seeing? With which eyes are you going to see the one that Jesus says cannot be seen? If you want to see the Father, look at Jesus. That's what he said. He said, why are you still asking to see the Father? I've been with you all this while, and you don't understand that the disciples were asking him. So it's not strange that people are asking him. Say, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. I am the express image. I am the image, the seeable version of the Father. The Father is spirit. They that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. But if you are looking for an image, always man is looking for image, totems, handkerchief, anointing oil, something, so crabby, rosary, scarf. They are all well and good when you are still helping the person to find footing. But we are waiting for the time, brothers and sisters in the Lord, when you will sit where you are sitting. Apologies, even when you are peeing. P is the designer, the other one, the backward one. You can still catabro your way into communicating with your Father. Because it's not restricted by totems and symbols and images. You want to go to Jerusalem before you pray, symbolically, a church, building, or Mecca. That one I'm right. I hope I'm not wrong. I don't know much of Islam, so forgive me if I don't say something appropriate. But the time to gather somewhere before you can have communion or fellowship with your Father is long gone. Our Father has gone high-tech. You're sitting in your room, you tap your thing, you can hear. Don't say, I have to go to the comm center and go and make a call so that I can talk to Father. Right now, laser, you're here. When you say, Father Bahaya Tadaba, you can hear. I'm trying to say that, so read the thing well when you're reading. Those who do Bible and, Quran, and I don't know the others, bear with me. Don't restrict. Don't restrict the being to a container. You are seeing lizard on your bed at 12 midnight. Maybe you didn't clean your room well. That's fine. But if you think you've done all the thorough cleaning and a shiny lizard is in your bed, pray the thing out. You say you're looking for a friends, Shaba oil. Shaba oil be that they gave you. Hey, auntie, Shaba oil is in the kitchen. The shiny lizard. Everyone's laughing at me. Ashif, you're laughing at me. The thing is in the kitchen. When will you walk there to go and take the Shaba oil? By the time you get to the gates, this shiny lizard would have swallowed you up. Are you looking for scarf before you become holy and pray? You are joking. Let your critical, philosophical, reflective mind work and read the scriptures yourself and ask for inspiration. God is everywhere at once. If you believe in God at all, and you should. Anyway, that drift was relevant to help you see why some won't take your empirical defenses as justifiable grounds. They may be useful for now, but to establish the certainty of the claim made, we may be wrong. I told you level 300 when we did Kant, a portion of Kant the last time. I said they should go and look for Kofi in Krabia. It was a movie. Kofi is the name of a Friday born in Ghana, a male. And in Krabia, it's like a version of destiny or what's the other word? Fate, F-A-T-E, your fate. It was meant to be sort of. So Kofi in Krabia, what happened to him is unfortunate. So some suggest that it was meant to be. It was in his how do I say it? It was destined to die unfairly like that. So the summary is that they found, I think that they found he mistakenly, there's an exchange of his luggage in the truck. When he was picking his luggage, he picked another person's phone. Then the other person took his. But when he went to the market to go and sell whatever, maybe let's say cassava, I forgot the particular details, but the main line is there was a false accusation. So let's say if it was cassava he was going to sell after hard work, a lot of misfortunes over his life. He's had his cassava is going to sell. When they open it, there were human heads inside. Hey, how do you get yourself out of this albatross? You brought it. You say it's not yours. Everything is pointing to the person. Empirically speaking, Ajwa, when you see he's holding it, when you hear, you are hearing that he's the one. When you everything points to, and yet it wasn't the reality. So rationalists don't want to rely solely on the empirical as what justification, because what you know empirically may be limited or may be false. And last example, look at scientific research. Why do you go and search again? Research means we have searched earlier and we are researching. We are doing it again. Replay. It means you are playing it again. Research. What again are you going to search? If the earlier one you found is certain, it's absolute, what are you going to research again? You research because what you know empirically, science is empirically grounded. It could fail. We thought COVID was X, Y, Z cost. It might be another thing. It might be. How many planets did we have? And how many do we have now? And do we know how many there will be tomorrow? The meteorologists thought this. And people thought we won't even survive 20. When 2000 was coming, I don't know how old you were then. The year 2000. What? People said the earth is coming to an end. And what have you? I was very old. I can recall everything. There's going to be a big stone. It will hit the world because empirically, the evidence pointed to that. Are we dead? We are still here and still counting. Live daily. Conscious of what is empirically given, yes, but be open to the possibility that it might not be so because we are still searching and researching. I think I've elaborated enough on those two. So you see why some people may not want to rely solely on what experience gives as what a justifiable grounds. They are not crazy. That's why I put flesh to it like that. I'm seeing him smiling at me. Oh, how are you? And he is the demon. The one that is frowning may be the one that is true. The senses may not always give us certainty, says the rationalists. I pause for questions if there are any. If not, then Christabel and Nkrumah can read analytic-synthetic. Thank you, Nanajwa. Don't go yet.
I have a question.
Oh, please ask your question, my dear. Nanajwa, ask it.
So something like mass formulas, like how they were able to calculate the diameter and everything of the earth. Is it experience or reason?
What do you think? I'll answer you, but I want to know your mind first. Why? Please come again.
I think it's reason.
How they calculated the what? The diameter of the earth, how many the distance of the sun from the earth and what have you.
Yes. Yes.
They observed though.
They
observed. It's
observed.
the same. Yes. That is why they can come and change it tomorrow. Yes. That's why they can come and change it tomorrow. Didn't they tell us that the earth was rather in the middle of the planetary motion? For thousands of years, that's what we thought. That the earth is in the center. And every other planet is moving around the earth. That is what we're told. A geocentric view. As a geography student, do tell you. Or Google it. Even when Copernicus, that's why we call it the Copernican revolution, and Galileo, a church person, was saying that Charlie was a scientist that was studying what Ptolemy and others had investigated. They are all empirical scientists. They look into the telescope and they see the angles and they say, no, this thing, the way I see it, it is rather the earth that is moving. Even the so-called the earth is flat versus the earth is round. People won't listen. Minia. But the guy was seeing, science was telling us then, the science that was prevailing. When I say science, you understand, the knowledge that was empirically the status quo that says it is the earth that is stationary. The earth is standing at one place and all the others are moving around it. It was a lie then. But for thousands of years, everybody thought it was true. Do you know what was informing that? People said the earth inhabits human beings, and human beings are at the center of God's creation. God created everything for man. So it cannot be that where man lives is subordinate to some earth. When the empirical evidence is showing otherwise, at least at the time, they won't listen because they want to rely on what science had said. Then, but science was speaking differently again. Just like science said, sickle cell anemic folks then will die at 18 years. And science is speaking another thing. People won't listen to. I'm telling you, these things that are like diseases that people think won't go. You know, some people think that this disease will never go. It is a terminal one. Maybe all you need is some clay. That was some clay at the back of some coal pot somewhere. When you rub a little on your armpit, this corner and this corner, all diabetes will disappear. We just don't know. So if you rely solely on that, you will err. Now we know that the distances are not true. The planets have changed. It is the same science that told us. People can live with sickle cell. Some are 60-something, what have you. They are living normal lives. You just have to know that you are water. You can't go near fire. You are fire. If you go near water, water will dim you. This one is I want to use examples. You don't like banku, but you like yam. It's just restrictions. That's all. Little limits here and there. Not that you are going to die. I'm trying to say that science, which is the empirical study of the world, I'm talking empirical science, is unraveling, discovering a world that the scientists didn't create. And yeah, I don't know as you, if you are observing. So there is always a certain reality that you haven't been able yet to discover. And that is the posture of a true empirical scientist, not the one that says you cannot give birth. And when we ask why, I say, oh, but look at the size of the fibroids and this. Your limited eyes and what it has discovered, you are using it to prescribe what can happen. Little you. That is the concern some rationalists have. Not all of them, but some think that it is arrogance. So my sister, to answer it directly, they measure what they are seeing. But what you are seeing could change if the resources you are using increase. You see that? So right now, someone can look into the bottle of water I'm holding and say, oh, this is clean water. Please give me clean water. You look and say, hey, where I don't even say microscope, and you see whether it is clean or it's not clean. You could see some more detailed gogomelistic. Do you know gogome? Worms. Or some particles in the water, which your naked eye wouldn't normally see. So what? Someone will say, but dog, then it's still the empirical. The point we are making is so the senses itself shows you its shortfalls, telling you that you may never be able to rely solely on the senses itself, because what it told you yesterday, I'm doing Descartes now, that it is true. The next day, the same senses tells you it is false. Didn't it tell you that there's a pool of water whilst you were driving on the highway? You get there, it was a mirage. Should you trust that same source for certainty? The guy says, don't do that. If you do that, you are not wise. The boy told you, I love you like Hamatan Popo, by the apple of my eye, me small book. And when he was telling you that, Adwesley was behind him. If you find out that Asumua was lying to you, on what basis do you want to trust solely this same source for certainty? That is the question. And it is Descartes' question. Don't give me facts. It's Descartes. So my sister, if the senses have failed us before in its search for reality, then when the same senses come to tell us and calculate diameter and show us how many planets exist and tell us that it is the H2SO4 in the system of this, that, we take it, but we take it with a pinch of salt. We are minded, says the rationalists. Right. Thank you very much. My lady, please read for me now.
Does that mean that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Madam.
Yes, Auntie.
Does that mean that knowledge that is gained from reason doesn't change as frequently as the one from the senses?
What do you think?
I think that.
I'm sure the sister is saying, I'm going to go beside questions. What do you think? Because you have knowledge. Give me a minute and let me plug my things going up. I'll come back in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Right. You are saying that does it mean that reason doesn't change? Let me give you an empiricist argument, and you see how the rationalists will look stupid in some few minutes. That's what philosophers do. We are trained to do that. We are sitting here looking at each other. You say what I'm telling you. What if it is not true? What about you, the one that I can't even see or hear or touch or I tell him there is a life after death. Have you died before? Nana, have you died before?
No, madam.
So on what basis? You see how I'm going to defend the empiricists now, and why it is a philosophical problem. Navigating is nerdy. If we had all died before and seen how hellfire is painful and how heaven is sweet, you think we'll struggle to do evangelism? We haven't died before, Minia. Some people even ask, hey, doc, this thing we are doing, so if we die one day and then there's no heaven and hell, Charlie, we have lose God, because the way enjoyment they go on. The enjoyment they go on this earth, we feel enjoy some in the name of some life after death. Charlie. So the rationalist argument, as compelling as it seems, may also have its challenge. And that is why by the 16th century or so, 17th century, rationalism had become useless. And currently, look at the world. People don't want to talk God. Go to European settings. As for Africa and Ghana and things, we are very religious. Even our elections, heavily spiritual. IMF people are coming. They say the 4 corners of the nation. We stop there. Hey, everything prayer. We are conscious of God. Some places, this God and morality and these things. Look, it looks like you people are very, very archaic. They want empirically verifiable. And I asked you some questions when I was making a case for the empiricists. When we go to court and you say you think that the laptop was stolen by Aya, and I ask you, what is your justification? Give me reason why I should believe what you said. Will you tell me that I have an itch? I think I am led by the Spirit of God. Sir, what if you are hungry or jealous of Yaya? How do we measure whether the Spirit of God is the one telling you, or it is your anger and jealousy that is speaking? How do we measure that? Give us something we can see, and that is what is the case all the time for religious people. That is what Moses had to confront when he went up there and Aaron was left alone. The people say, you say God, God, God. Shall he give us God that we can see so that we worship and stop this God thing that is abstract? They gave their earrings and gold. They gave it. Nobody did appeal for funds. They wanted Aaron. If you don't do Bible, you can Google it, to create an image, seeable, touchable. They can burn incense or cut the neck of a goat or something on it. Then they will see that, yeah, we're worshiping. We are worshiping. But this talk of the God that, then say, well, what is the name of you? You say, oh, I am that I am. What is I am that I am? Say, Athena or Zeus, and show us how Zeus and so married, and you can form their images and draw them and do a sculpture of them. Hey, relatable. Listen, it's the same old story that we are facing. So there's a difficulty for the rationalists. As compelling as the arguments are, it is not within the scope of the experiential. So it's difficult to convince anybody if it's all rational. And yet we know that we can't rely solely on the senses because the senses can fail. So you see why it's a philosophical problem. Bring the specific issue and we'll see what to rely on, whether it is the senses only or it is reason only, or perhaps there comes the third one, which I can't engage you now. Your teeth are too small. So I'm speaking figuratively to bite it. But when you get to rationalism, or maybe beyond that, we can discuss that. Maybe it's a blend of the two all the time. Maybe it's reason, and reason is intellect, cum, soul, cum, spirit. You see that? Maybe it's reason and experience, the senses, working hand in hand all the time. Maybe it's never one without the other. That way, you take what is judicious of rationality and mix it with what is judicious with what? The empirical. Then you are better able to make a more relevant, contextually useful decision than going solely this or solely that. That is what Kant advocates for, which you can learn later in Anajua. But reason too has its flaws, especially when you think of reason as the non-physical, not just the intellectual. Will you sit there and do, how can you use analysis to determine whether Kofi stole the money or he didn't steal the money? How? We need evidence, pictorial evidence. CCTV camera, let's check his fingerprint. Let's interrogate him and see how he behaves. Is his nose shaking? Is he scratching his hair? These are empirically, empirical means of what? Trying to establish the veracity of claims made. You say we should do what? Reflection. We should meditate. Yes, but meditation is not collectively done. So if I reflectively climb out of the cave like Plato advocates and I see clearly, that is church. I do fasting so that I can have a better view. Or I go to Mecca and come holy so I can see the Malam will tell me this elections is not good for you. Because what I see, he has done the meditation as reflect. How do you objectively have access to what the intellect or reason or spirit or soul, the non-physical part of you, is telling? How do you have objective? It's personal. That's a challenge. But maybe we do the two. I hope that helps a little, Nana.
Yes, madam. Yes, please. Thank you.
Welcome. Now we can read the last bit. We are done. You're putting flesh to it. The substance we are done. Someone read this quickly. Someone was going to read. I mentioned the name, please.
Doc, please, is me.
Go ahead then. Thank you. Read analytic, synthetic, a priori, a posterior. I'll let you read all then I'll speak for 5 minutes and then we are done.
Some important terminologies. Analytic into bracket relations of ideas. A statement whose predicate is already contained in the subject. It is a logical or linguistic truth, so non-informative. Necessary truth, true by definition. Logical structure, meanings, tautologies or redundancies. Example, all backing dogs back. A is A. A square is four-sided. Hello. Hello.
Oh, I was speaking when I was muted. I was saying thank you very much. So, let's finish. Thank you very much. So in your notes, you see that we are written there. There are 4 types of statements that are useful in our discussion around knowledge. Analytic statements, synthetic statements. So it's analytic versus synthetic statement on one side, then a priori versus a posteriori statement on the other. And I can do that in 3 minutes or so. Okay. When we say a statement is analytic, we are dealing with the predicate and the subject of that statement. We think that the subject, say Kofi is a boy, the subject is Kofi, is a boy, is the predicate. An analytic statement is simply the one that the predicate is a boy, it's only repeating what is in the subject. So Kofi is a boy is not analytic. But if I say a bachelor is an unmarried adult male, what I mean by an unmarried adult male is the same as what I mean by a bachelor. So here, the predicate is repeating the subject. And that is why it is analytic. Okay? So if I say all barking dogs back, I have not said anything new. If it is a barking dog, then it will bark. So all barking dogs back, I have not added any new information. I only repeated myself. It's just like saying A is A. That's why we say it is non-informative. It is necessarily the case that A is A. So if I say A is A, that will always be true. It's a tautology. It will always be true that Chichi is Chichi. Whatever Chichi is, doesn't matter. Chichi is Chichi. Chocho is Chocho. Chacha is Chacha. Whatever Chichi means doesn't matter. It will necessarily be true that Chocho is Chocho. Because I'm not saying anything new. I'm only repeating myself. See that? That's analytic statement. Analytic statement could also be negative. Suppose I said a bachelor has beaten his own wife mercilessly. Then that will be necessarily false, no matter where it happened, whether in heaven or hell. If the person is a bachelor, he cannot beat his wife. He cannot beat his own wife. You see that? So that will necessarily be false. Therefore, by the meanings of terms, by the logical structure, or by the definition of words, you can tell whether an analytic statement is true or false. How? Because the predicate is not saying anything different from the subject. That's an analytic statement. Okay? So a statement whose predicate is already a part of the subject. But you can also have synthetic truths. That one, the predicate is not repeating the subject. It is saying something that adds to the subject. So if I say A is B, I am telling you something else about A. Like if I say Kofi is a boy, it's a boy is adding information about what Kofi is. Because Kofi could also be a footballer. And Kofi could also be a dancer. And Kofi could also be a thief. All these are informations about Kofi. So there are additional information that I am giving you about the subject Kofi. That is why it is not repetitive. So it's a synthetic statement. Basa will win the match. It's synthetic. Dogs bark is synthetic. Because dogs also eat. And dogs, dogs poo. So if I say dogs bark, I'm not repeating myself. What I mean by dogs is not the same as what I mean by barking. If I say all barking dogs bark, the subject is barking dogs. The predicate is bark. What is different? If it is a barking whatever, then it will bark. So you just repeated yourself. Okay. But here in synthetic statement, you are not repeating yourself. The expression is what? Informative. You have to know that to understand what is going on when we do knowledge discussions. In this instance, you will see that to tell whether it is true or false, you will have to leave the original statement and go outside of it. Check the state of affairs out there. So suppose I say Barca will win the match. You can't tell whether this is true or false by looking at the statement itself and language and definitions and what have you. It's a lie. Analysis can't help you here. You will need extra and better particulars. So if we go and watch the match and Barca wins, then this statement is true. We go and watch and Barca doesn't win, this statement has become false. So it doesn't have necessity to its truth value. It is sometimes true, sometimes false, dependent on what happens outside of the statement. You borrow a synthetic hair to add to your natural hair. Use that, it can help you. So it's synthesized. Would you be there and afra would there? You have used someone's hair to mix yours. Isn't there, my sisters? But if you do analytic statement, you depend on the very statement and its logical structure or terms or meanings to tell whether it is true or false, because the truth or falsity is not outside of the very statement. It's just the relation between the ideas here. That is why Hume calls it relations of ideas. Okay, get this very well. You've done half of rationalism, just in case you do it later. Okay, then there is a priori and a posteriori. There are also terminologies associated with the question of knowledge. But here, a priori and a posteriori are talking about how you come to know. How? Remember question 2 up there. How? A priori means you know it prior to experience, independently of experience. You know before you experience. That is a priori analysis. That is, you know it without the help of experience. I know already that, listen, you can't say that the angels are wearing gowns, but they are at the same time totally naked. Hey, why are you saying, oh, I saw it in my dream, woman of God? Yes, I saw a vision. The angels were wearing gowns and flapping their wings. And at the same time, they were totally naked. So I asked the Lord, say, hold on, my brother or sister. Did you eat before sleeping? Say, are you okay? Should I check your temperature? With a lot of love. Because this one cannot happen. Don't tell me, hey, you don't believe it. It's not true. If they were wearing gowns, they cannot at the same time be totally naked. Totally is a word. It's a lie. Intimacy. Not on earth, not in heaven, not in hell, not in the world to come. Why? It's in the language. I need you to take note. It is in the language. See, so I know that this is false. A priori, I know it a priori. Then if you told me that it is either raining right now in heaven or it is not raining right now in heaven, that is necessarily true. Yes, I don't need to see it. I don't need to go to heaven or go to hell. I don't even need to exist. This is necessarily true because one statement or the statement's own negation, one of them will always be the case. Yeah. Wow. Yes, it's philosophy. You check. So I am here or I am not here is a tautology. One of the alternatives is always if you come and I'm here, what I said is true. If you come and I'm not here, what I said is still true. And one of them will always be the case. So such statements have necessity. They are either tautologous or self-contradiction, depend on the syntax, the way you are speaking, the language itself. Okay, and so we know them a priori. Whilst a posteriori is you depend on the senses to come to know. So they have contingency. At this stage, then you will see that there seems to be a logical connection between analytic statements and a prioriness versus synthetic statements and a posteriorness. It looks as if the statement is analytic, then we'll know it a priori, right? Because it doesn't depend on observation. Then if it is synthetic, we'll know it a posteriori. That would have been so brilliant, and everyone thought it is the case. Look at it, it's a tentative conclusion until Kant. And this is where I'll end. From here, if I add, it will be too much for you for rationalism. Kant comes in and tells them, Unia, there can be synthetic statement that we know with a priori certainty. And then he will argue to show us why. That is for another day. For now, this is the tentative, and I am so done. Free will determinism will come. The concept of a person will come. There's a person and community will come. Personism will come. What's the other one? Personal identity too will come. Mind-body problem will come. Idealism will follow it, and reality versus appearance from Russell will susket it somewhere. Then, then the problem of knowledge will come. Hey, who is laughing at me? When I say something will come now, I know people took their pens. Hey, for my areas, all the areas will come, including the regions and the chapters. They will all come. Listen, learn. You answer 3 essays from 5. One question may be, like I told you in class last week, maybe a blend of 2 or 3 of them. That is why you won't punch. Just read over and confidently go. If each is 20 marks per hour, the 3 will be 60. And then you add it to your IA 20, that's 80. Then there are a lot of in-class exercises, online assignments, take sheet of paper, presentations you've done. Some are merely for attendance only, but I've recorded marks down for you. Then I'll moderate as I do always, upwards, never downwards. So if you put in a little effort at all, it should count so that you do fine, okay? That is how I end. Don't ask me anything about those who didn't do the online assignment. If you didn't do that one, the one I asked you to go in, but you did other in-class exercises, it should be able to make up for that. The people who will be found wanting are those who did nothing. 8 weeks, they were not coming. None. Nothing on the file there. And your 20 marks in a suspect, you're already out of A. So do well in the final exam and add to the IA. But if you did those ones, then I'm going to choose the best 10 or so from those to record for you. There you can see you're over 40 for the continuous assessment. I am done. Clap for me wherever you are and tell me if you have any questions. Any question? Thank you very much. Hey, some people are clapping. I'll give them marks. This Ishmael, I'm waffle. I've seen Hashim too. Hashim Kwade was laughing at my friends who I see all of your hands there. Hashim was laughing at those people who say, Okova, Shaba, anointed oil. Meanwhile, the snake is on your bed and the anointed oil is in the kitchen. Symbols and totems, never relational. You have to relate with your father in heaven. Why? Then you call him the Hianda, can be under the pit. He will hear. It's everywhere at once. Caleb, let me take your question. It's just one question, then I think we are done. I will pull this out and share on the platform for everyone. Okay, there you have a fair balance. Go ahead, Caleb. If it wasn't a question, then thank you very much. Amajua, thank you. And thank you all those who read for me. Have a wonderful rest time. I'll be on the platform to take queries once in a while till you write your exam and do well. All the best and take care. Bye-bye. Thank you all. I see the reactions. Thank you very much.